Well, hello everyone, and this is the video so many have been waiting for. Yeah, this is a Kundalini to sex or not to sex, to orgasm or not, mental orgasm versus physical orgasm. I don't know. I hope I can keep all of these topics straight. But what do I want to say first? I want to say, yes, what you're seeing is I am extremely tired. um, I think I've reached physical burnout from this new job, mental and emotional burnout from the boss and just the whole situation. And I think I'm also experiencing some depression because I have been trying to sleep for the last 3 days and I am still utterly exhausted. I can't keep my thoughts straight. I can't focus. I have no motivation to do anything. I mean, doing this is like taking everything I got. So bear with me. And also, uh, I want you to see the real me because so many people have so graciously said, "Oh, you look so beautiful in your videos," especially when I use this computer. The lighting is very good here. But I keep forgetting to, Zoom and the filters on Zoom, they make you look wonderful. Well, I changed that and I'm letting you see everyone out there. I want to be authentic and I don't want to hide and pretend that, I'm this smooth, baby faced, woman when I am not. I definitely have lots of wrinkles, lots of wrinkles. Skin is loose. I mean, that's just what happens. And so I'm hoping I don't scare you. I look so much different than before. Anyway, so let's get started with this topic. I will try to keep my thoughts straight. Um, but I'm in this mental set. I can't even take notes very well, and it's possible I'm going to go off in different directions and not complete a sentence, but I will do my best. So the whole question, so many people have asked over the years, so am I, having sex, is that bad for Kundalini? Do I ejaculate? Do I not? Blah, blah, all these questions. And I am in no way really qualified to answer any of these questions because it's such a broad topic and everyone has not religion, but every lineages have their own perspective. But the big message that I got when I was, looking for insights or opening myself to insights and doing a little oracle session, the big major ding, ding, ding that I got was, and of course we should know this, that spiritual awakening has nothing to do with physical activity. Ding, ding, ding. I mean, that was that was the big message. However, however, refraining from some physical activities um, is helpful to setting the stage for a spiritual awakening. And we have to even look at the word spiritual awakening. And of course, Kundalini is what leads us to a spiritual awakening. It's the spiritual body or consciousness that is wanting to wake up, right? It's not the physical body. However, so ultimately, this question of sex, no sex, orgasm, mental, what, it doesn't matter. That's the ultimate answer. And what I want to say is, it doesn't matter what you do in the physical world. it's um it won't affect a spiritual awakening because when it happens, it's going to happen by its own. No physical activity is going to influence that. Let's see, what do I want to say? So that's the ultimate answer. However, that answer is most appropriate for people who are already very conscious. This is why people will go into and do uh, the true tantric. They'll be in a relationship and they try to be very conscious with their love making. They're like, yes, I can have sex and do my meditation and work on Kundalini, and it doesn't bother me, because you're trying for that statement to be true, that the physical activity will not affect spiritual awakening. That is for someone who's very conscious. Consciousness has already expanded, so they're already in like this very conscious witness state, and they can have sexual activity and not be attached to the physical activity, right? And I, meaning there's not an attachment there, there's not an over physical desire, lust, wanting pleasure, seeking pleasure on the outside. Um, it's not used as a distraction. It's used in a relationship that is grounded in love. And well, I don't know, I don't want to say sacredness, that might be a little too much, but love and sharing and expressing love. But I suspect, all the questions that I get, people are like, oh, but can't I have sex? So what about sex, 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 sex? I'm so horny, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I get all the whole gamut, and they're very worried about not having sex. And well, let me back up. So someone with that level of consciousness having sex, I would say that they're already to a point where worrying about having sex or not is not even a question. That desire and attachment in their consciousness, there's no attachment because consciousness has expanded beyond the lower instinctual desire seeking chakras, right? They're already up here. And so there's not even a question of, oh, don't I get to have sex? Okay. So ultimately, that statement of no physical activity has nothing to do with spiritual awakening is true. But for most of us, the there is an attachment, right? There is, if you're worried about not being able to have sex and pleasure yourself, then there is an attachment there. There is consciousness is so still deeply attached to the lower chakras. And it is this desire to have sex and pleasure is a seeking energy, and it's seeking consciousness is so not aware of itself at that level that it's seeking itself through pleasure outside of itself, right? And I think that is the bottom line of why there is celibacy, like monks go and they don't have sex or whatever. I think that's what the traditions are saying. By not having sex, it takes us away, or it exposes our attachment to physical pleasure and distracts us from going inwards, right? Because if you think about this desire to have sex, to feel pleasure, and I don't even want to say have sex, it's about feeling pleasure. Oh, the seeking energy starts, and you're like, oh, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. Um, and that during sexual stimulation, you start feeling good about yourself, right? So I think this sexual thing that we get is to make ourselves feel better. It's a distraction from what's going on. And so the traditions that say no sex are trying to make you aware of that, to help train yourself to go inwards, to feel what is going on. Where is this desire coming from? What is this seeking energy running away from? What are you not looking at here? Okay. So that's one aspect. And of course, what I was getting, of course, there are two kind of different sexual energy things going on. Obviously, there's this biological genetic programming that is for procreation, right? Okay, that's a different urge than, ooh, I see somebody and I'm horny and I want to, there's some different things going on. There's the biological desire to procreate, and there's how we've conditioned ourselves about sex and what we use it for. I forgot why I said that. I'm, and okay, distinguishing between the different types of sexual energy. And then there's that energy that happens in meditation. So those two are separate from what happens in meditation. Even though it feels the same, mm, I think that little tingle that happens in meditation, hopefully, we're not going into meditation and fantasizing, having porn scenes in our head. Hopefully, although I know that happens. Of course, if you're thinking about sex and you have sexual energy, that's a desire energy, right? That's lust. That's a program, that's a conditioned mental program that says, oh, I need sex. I got to feel better. It's going to feel so good. And it's going to make me feel whole, right? Because ultimately, when we have sex and we orgasm, we feel one with everything. We lose ourselves. We lose our ego self for a split second. And that's why we keep wanting to do it. But the not having sex is we want to be able to go inwards and feel that as our natural self that we are. I'm losing my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying. I'm so sorry. I'm so tired. Yeah. So let me just look at some of my notes here. Yeah. So the tingle that happens in meditation is like a different form of energy that is like bubbling up. It's like it's I think I said earlier talked about the pranic bodies opening up. There's some movement, there's some relaxation, life forces is expanding, consciousness is expanding, and things are kind of bubbling up in the root chakra, right? If that's where root, everything 3, 2, and 1 down. Attention is there because that's where your consciousness is resting. If Kundalini hasn't been released, then that's where she's at. And of course, she's getting aroused based on the contraction and the focus and the concentration of all your awareness coming inwards. And that sparks Kundalini. That's a different energy. Now, whenever the human body, or most of us, feel a little tingle down there, well, then the mind immediately takes over and says, oh, this is sex, I got to have sex, when in reality it's not. So this sexual energy and desire that happens like outside of meditation, slightly different. It's still a creative energy, but how our mind takes it is different, and we want pleasure and we want to whatever different from what happens in meditation. I don't know if I'm making sense, and I don't even know if those two distinctions are different, but that's what I was getting, and I don't know if it really even matters. So, someone asked, is there a difference between having a mental orgasm and a physical orgasm? And yes, there is. A physical orgasm depletes the hormones in your body that go off. I mean, let's go back. When we get sexual stimulation, whether it's by yourself or with another, and I say, test this out for yourself. Feel this yourself. um, because I did for this video, I was testing things out because I wanted to see what people are feeling and what is really going on. I'm a little embarrassed to tell you that. But when there is sexual stimulation, why do we feel so good? And what I discovered, and what the insight that came to me was, so mm, we can physically, what am I saying? That we stimulate the physical body, and it's stimulating those chakras, those lower and second chakras, and it's expanding our life force, and it's kind of um, doing it through the solar plexus. It starts expanding our life force with that creative, bubbling energy. And that energy, if you can do this yourself and be very aware of what's happening in your body, your subtle body, this would be a great practice. That energy, that sexual energy, starts moving up into the heart chakra, and or you should direct it into the heart chakra, and you start feeling this huge expansive energy, and you start feeling this is the bliss, this is the oneness, and you're like, yes, I feel so good, I feel whole, I feel complete. I mean, this is why we go for the sexual energy. And then it moves into the brain centers where, of course, physically it starts um, um, kicking off, or I can't think of the right words, turning on I think it's serotonin, dopamine. Oh, the bird just hit the window. Wow. Okay. He's okay though. It was just a gentle hit. Um, and so we've got, and then the crown, subtle body wise, the brain centers are being opened, and so sexual stimulation is a heart chakra and brain center stimulation that expands all this stuff, right, physically and in the subtle nadis, subtle bodies. Feel great. If you could stay right there, you could harness that energy and use it to realize that's when consciousness can wake up to itself and know itself, because that is itself. Lost my train of thought. It's a beautiful energy. If you just want to use sexual stimulation to hold that, and that energy, that's your true life force. That's who and what you are. Hold that in your aura. Oh my God, what a powerful thing. What a powerful thing to use that space for manifestation, for, I don't know, bringing love into your life or whatever. That's the creative force. But because we tend to want more, or we can't control ourselves, then we go to orgasm, and what happens? Whoosh, it's a rush. It's a depletion of all the hormones and all this energy, and we lose it. We lose it, and we tend to feel tired and exhausted, and we no longer have that desire to connect with others. I mean, this is where having a real physical orgasm takes you away from the spiritual journey. It mentally depletes you, it depletes you hormonally, and and due to conditioning, societal conditioning, we tend to feel guilty, right? Ultimately, of course, physical activity has nothing to do with spiritual awakening. However, when we do have physical orgasm and then we feel depleted, and then we have thoughts that say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have, guilt, 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 then that hinders a spiritual awakening, because we've just taken, we were in this beautiful high frequency natural state, and now the ego mind and the mind comes in and says, you've done something wrong. And that's where you need high level of consciousness to say, no, I did nothing wrong, and not to feel guilty or not to feel bad if you feel tired. It's the thought process that happens after orgasm. Now, does the same thing happen when you have a mental orgasm? You know, some people, I'm a little yes and no on that. I think kind of it depends. It depends on how well you handle the mental orgasm. Hmm. Let me look at my notes. Because I know that there are some people who can have, and I can certainly um, have, I can just think about things and have an orgasm. But I think when people are saying they're having a mental orgasm, I think their body is still responding. So isn't that an orgasm? I don't think they're actually saying they're having an orgasm in their brain. I think I need some clarification on that. To me, a mental orgasm isn't well, it is slightly different than a physical because you're not releasing fluid, I suppose, for men in particular. So yeah, there is more of a retention. Yeah, yeah. So it is slightly different. You don't lose the fluids. Things are haven't been depleted. So yeah, the body does not get as tired or diminished in a certain way. And I suppose the body doesn't have to replenish those hormones or fluids, right? So there is a slight difference. And I know that there are practices of mental orgasm where you can take that energy and move it up the spine, and these are very sacred practices, and I think you need a very high teacher. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, I think only certain people have the ability to do that, and God bless them because that will awaken Kundalini for sure. um, I think there are some practices, like I was looking at this book. There are not these are not sexual, talking about how to raise Kundalini sexually, but this book, Kundalini Exposed, Santana Gamana, or whatever his name is, um, talks about practices to using Kriya practices to release Kundalini. Anyway, I'm off topic and that wasn't quite related. If you're interested in doing practices to try to force Kundalini or to create the stage. Anyway, let me see here. Let me look at some of my notes. Orgasm does not hinder Kundalini. Warm, yes, but there's lots more to learn about that. However, orgasm hinders spiritual awakening. And that's because, after we have orgasm, we feel kind of low, and the guilt feelings or whatever you're feeling, or the attachment, I shouldn't have done that, or, okay. However, what I got was retention of the sexual energy aids Kundalini. Ding, ding, ding. So, like I said, you can do all the stimulation you want. You can feel this big energy. That's the retaining of sexual energy that gives you this like feeling, and you feel so good. If you could stop it right there and just enjoy that, then you're aiding Kundalini, right? Because it's an expansion of your pranic, your vital force. Yeah. And it's an awakening of the heart and the brain centers. It's all very good. But of course, most of us cannot stop there. And then we let it go. Okay. Sexual energy builds up life force. Warm, yes. And when I say warm, yes, remember this is it's a basic yes, but there's lots more to understand. So, but we can say, yeah, sort of. Um, it moves energy to the heart. Yes, exposing it. Trying to, sorry, just one second. Mm, yeah. So the whole idea of not having sex, this celibacy on the spiritual journey, is it necessary? Ultimately, no. Is it helpful? I would say yes, because it exposes our attachments, our seeking energy. Why do we need all this? Why? For men, I'm sure, is it just a release of pressure? Sure, go ahead. Don't feel guilty about it. No big deal. But if there's this need and you're worried about not having sex, then there is an attachment to pleasure. And you've got to look at, what is my ultimate goal? What am I really seeking on the spiritual journey? Is it, do I feel this deep inner heartfelt longing to be one with God? Am I seeking liberation? I would say you probably don't have sexual desires, right? You're probably not worried about not having sex. Um, but if you're worried about having sex, then there are lots of attachments still to lower instinctual desires. And that's what celibacy and not having sex is trying to show you. Because, in meditation, we're trying to separate you from the body, trying to separate your needs of the body. And not having sex helps you to see those attachments. I know I'm repeating myself and not making much sense. I do apologize. So let's move on. Let's see if I found anything else happening here. I'm going to put this on pause so I can figure out where I'm at. Okay, so just looking at some of my notes. Yeah, orgasm mimics a spiritual awakening via chemical reactions in the human brain. Yes. Um, and think about it. I mean, that's why we're kind of addicted to the sexual energy, which I get it, right? Um, you're not doing it for sheer pleasure, but the fact that it mimics a spiritual awakening. It's just like taking DMT or ayahuasca. It activates all these brain centers, serotonin, dopamine, and all that other stuff, and you feel your oneness. But we can get addicted to that. We get addicted to an outside source, our body, right? And physical thing to mimic a spiritual awakening, when if we just directed our attention inwards in meditation, and we will realize we can awaken that within ourselves and have it 24/7, because that's what we are, right? Okay, we get that. um Retention of orgasm aids Kundalini, yes. Concentration of creative, yeah, yes. Sex with another um, can aid in Kundalini, of course. So we can do it, but it takes deep practice. These are ancient tantric sacred techniques to be able to do this. And I think most people are kidding themselves that they're really conscious having sex with another, and they're raising, I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. Um, but here are some notes. Vital energy is consumed by orgasm, right? So we get depleted. It's a loss of fluid, loss of hormones, and psychically, in our psyche, we tend to shut down. Now we kind of don't want to connect with others. We're not in that seeking energy. We diminish even that seeking spiritual energy, because we've shut down all of that energy. Um, and what I get, those of you who are doing mental orgasm, it does not deplete the life force. However, I think it is just as much an addiction and a seeking energy, seeking external pleasure. Like, why? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think that needs to be taken into account. I think I need to end this. Such a bad video. I apologize. What else do we want to talk about with sexual energy? To have sex, not have sex. Have sex. If you have a partner, it's okay. Have private sex. Have sex with yourself. It's fine. Um, just I would try to do it as consciously as possible. Like self-stimulation is great. Feel that huge expansive energy. Retain that if you can. If you don't, great. Enjoy it. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad if you have like a little depression afterwards. It's the mental thought that afterwards that hinders the spirit, your hinders yourself along the spiritual journey. So if you can be really conscious and know the reasons why you need to have sex, like you, if there's a need to have sex, there's something else going on. This is distraction energy, and you've got to find out what the fear is behind if you don't have sex, okay? Or an orgasm. For men, of course, there's something different going on a little bit. Of course, you have pressure that needs to be released. Okay, I get that. How much you need to do that. Um, uh, yeah. And also, someone asked about, um, yeah, this that they can experience this sexual energy. If you experience outside of meditation sexual energy just out of the blue bubbling up inside of you, then I suspect um, you're around someone, or someone or somebody you're involved with is thinking of you in a sexual way. I mean, that is so common. Or an astral being is playing along with you. If you're a highly sexual being, then of course you're going to attract astral beings who are attached and love that energy. They will use that through you. So if you're highly feeling that sexual energy, it's either coming from an outside source in the physical world who is thinking of you and projecting and using your image. That can I've experienced that. That's of course, and the difference, right? You either will know immediately who's thinking of you, or you're just like, it's like, wow, what's going on. I'm feeling like someone is having sex with me, or I feel horny all of a sudden. That's an outside projection, or it could be also from the astral world. And I think if someone is highly addicted to sex or has this need for orgasm, there could be an entity attached to you. Most of us have some kind of entity attached for certain things, right? And so maybe they're utilizing you for that energy. And I think that's something you'll have to test out for yourself. Um, Yeah, and if that's the case, if you feel like you're being invaded by a sexual force, then you've got to say no, 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 no to that. I do not accept that, because that's a real dirty energy. That's someone crossing me. Of course, it's just like, in the physical world, if somebody were to force sex upon you, it's the same thing. That's not a good energy. That is completely different than what you would feel in meditation. Okay. In meditation, it is completely different. You're not, you're, you're, there's a different intention and motivation behind it. It's a tingling that stimulates us sexually, but we don't immediately think someone's having sex with me, right? You can feel the difference, right? Okay. Uh, this is like a torturous video, not only for you, but for myself. So I will end this now. Probably did not answer anybody's question, but the big question was, you know, mental orgasm over physical orgasm, to have sex or not to have sex. Um, yeah, mental versus physical orgasm, there is a difference. It doesn't deplete your life force. However, I would say there's no difference, because it's still a seeking of pleasure energy outside of yourself, feeling good when, like, okay, it's okay occasionally, but if there's a need, then we need to really look deeper. You need to look at, really what is my goal in this spiritual goal? Uh, is it to go all the way? Then I probably need to really look deeply at my desires and my attachments and my needs for this pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And then, this topic, it's not just about sex. It's about food. It's about talking. It's about working out. It's anything. Replace the word sex with any other physical activity. And this video would be relevant. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the torture now. Okay. Until next time.